Welcome back to Q Dads, I'm Ste, and yes, episode 3 of From has just delivered an outstanding episode where we are given so many extra details, like how Tilly's tarot cards predicted the events of this episode. Let's waste no more time and just dive straight in. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as we'll be keeping you covered with all the mysterious details of From, including an upcoming video we have about the opening credits of the show, foreshadowing the whole season. You won't want to miss that. So the episode ended with the same ambulance we saw from episode 1 of this season, re-entering the town. This is after Tabitha and Henry are involved in a car crash. So Ben said to me, this feels like it confirms one of his theories that he'd been talking about over the past few weeks. That is where Tabitha was never actually outside of the town. Ben believes the residents of From are only on the tip of the spear, so Tabitha had only managed to venture further into the mystery. And whichever entity runs all of this clearly didn't like it, and had to bring her back down a level. Let's just hope she hit a save point while she was there. Now, this is because just before their crash, her and Henry were talking and she found the bracelet that both her and Miranda had, almost like their lives are synchronised, which seemed to solidify the point that none of this was real. Even before they left, Henry mentioned that the boy in white lures Tabitha to the lighthouse, which from Tabitha's point of view wasn't the case, but this is clearly what happened. After the crash, they end up in an ambulance, heading towards the town as they get caught by the same tree. The question is, will they make it in time for dark, because they did mention that there's only a few hours of daylight left. And what will the town do with this new information of Tabitha being able to get back into the town after finding a way out? Or should we say deeper within the From mystery? Will she now direct and guide the entire town through the faraway tree to exit and all of them move up another level? And that the tree Miranda mentioned was in the park, is that a real faraway tree or not? I, on the other hand, do feel like she got out, and that is because I believe the bottle tree Henry was going to take her to was the same tree and the original town that Fromville is based on. Not only that, the bracelets to me seem to be a massive thing. So here's my take on those. Could Tabitha actually be Victor's sister? Yes, I know we heard her speak to her mother in the last episode, but she could be adopted. And then you would ask, what about her memories? Well, clearly Victor has memory issues too. Maybe Fromville can mess with it. It just seems very strange that Tabitha would also make the same bracelets as Miranda, unless the boy in white or something from Fromville had planted the idea of creating their bracelets long before they entered the town, which leads me even further down the rabbit hole, as now I believe these bracelets might be similar to the talismans. The fact we've seen them pop up a few times makes me think they're important, especially as both Miranda and Tabitha made them for their partners. Are they some form of protection? Jim does seem to get lucky, escaping being outside trapped under debris all night. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Now, I also want to talk about the whole scene where Christy is caught within a bear trap, which again is very coincidental to the fact that Boyd wants to catch a monster, which would probably be a great way of catching one. Obviously, she gets caught in a trap just after she chases Jade, who saw a man which looked like he was from the 17 to 1800s, with a bolt through his eye and around some sacrificial stones. This seemed to point towards some kind of worship, like he'd been sacrificed to the gods, because later on, when they're freeing Christy from the trap, we see him have a vision of this man drinking blood from a skull. Now yes, drinking blood from a skull can refer to many civilizations, but I think for me this one stems from the Mayan people, where this man is clearly drinking from the skull as an offering to Goda. Was he a human sacrifice to help bring these crops and protect the land that they're standing on, with the lodges being impenetrable from the monsters? Is that what the cure is, a sacrifice? Was this man leaving a clue to all of this, maybe how it all began or what he needs to do to end it? For Ben, drinking from the skull seemed to represent immunity, like you know in most things, drinking from some kind of chalice, a fountain of youth, as example, gives you some type of immortality. Obviously, they all come with some kind of curse. So will drinking blood from the skull of another human give them immortality against the monsters? Or will it do something more along the lines of turning them into a monster? Let me know your thoughts on this. And just continuing in this area for a moment, we get a better look at the creepy voodoo-like figures, and we notice they seem to have screws or nails. So this then throws how old they are into the air, as they can't be Viking era, as these nails look like some kind of iron-based metal, which means they must have been developed later. But the bolt in the person's eye that Jade saw looks about the right time, so it does seem to me that these figures were put up well after the homes were built. Is the significance of the bolt in the eye and the bolts in the figures' heads relevant too? Is this some way of telling us about a weakness of the monsters? We've heard theories about the monsters being fae, and it's well known iron hurts them. So is this a potential nod to that? But either way, this being created in the Civil War era is still a possibility, and as I mentioned before, maybe the land was cursed by those escaping persecution. Again, let me know your thoughts. Now, as we continue to move backwards through the episode, we then have the scene with Tilly and Fatima where they use the tarot cards. Fatima is caught in the act through eating this rotten veg, and Tilly ends up having a conversation and decides to reminisce about licking the insides of eggshells, which is very strange. But then she offers her service to do a tarot reading, and as 4 cards are drawn, we get one that's turned, but we do not see what that card is. Instead, we have a raven breaking through the glass and flying around, knocking things over, before ultimately hitting a wall and killing itself. Now, interestingly, the tarot card, the Raven, which also was not turned, is heavily hinted towards and actually stands for magic, coincidence, and synchronicity. So just like in this episode, we have the synchronicity of both Tabitha and Miranda travelling through these trees, seeing the same paintings, trying to save the children, and even the bracelets they wear. Like me and Steve alluded to before, the generation of mothers being led by the boy in white. We have the coincidence of Christy being caught in a trap after Boyd wants to trap the monsters, and magic, where Jade has these hallucinations of magic sacrifice rituals, which is just some great foreshadowing there from Tilly's part. Great writing. But sticking with Jade for a moment, because there's a few other things that happen within this episode I just think are going to play a more crucial part, like Jade breaking the totem. Has he now potentially cursed himself, similar to how Boyd was cursed with the worms? Is this going to be something that plagues Jade's mind even more? We know there are more scenarios to come with him according to the promos. And also, I want to point out here that it was nice to see them using real snow, as you can tell from Kenny's jeans that the snow was melting on his leg. A nice detail. Always hate seeing fake snow that never melts. And of course, we can't end without talking about Sarah and Victor, who we saw briefly in this episode, as Victor had dug up an old suitcase and then wanted to tell Sarah a story. Why is this? What is the story he wanted to tell? And what was in the suitcase? And why is the only way to tell the story to dig up the suitcase? Overall, the episode seemed better than 2, as the previous 2 seasons were slowly building towards something. But like those 2 seasons, we have so many more questions and answers. So, like the From producers, I'm going to throw some questions over to you. Do you think Tabitha actually left Fromville? Has Jade caused a new curse to happen? And finally, do you still think Tilly knows more than she's letting on? And as I mentioned at the start of the video, we will have a video discussing the opening and foreshadowing later on in the week. So don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow, and keep your comments coming as we love reading them. Anyways, thanks for watching, and as always, catch you next time with something new.